I'm Andy Black and I look like a fat hillbilly. On this episode of Fighting Talk, we're going to have a big fight prediction. Let's see if we can get this one right, eh? And if I don't, please put in the comments what forfeit you want me to do. Please be kind. Anyway, let's get started. The fight I'm going to be predicting is a big heavyweight clash between Anthony Joshua and Wladimir Klitschko. Now it's for Joshua's IBF heavyweight title, but the WBA and IBO titles are getting thrown in for free. Let's talk about Anthony Joshua first, or to give him his full name, Anthony Joshua. See this guy right here? All your girlfriends want to fuck him.
He started boxing as an amateur in 2007 and he compiled a record of 40 wins and 3 defeats. The highlight of his amateur career was winning the super heavyweight gold medal at the 2012 London Olympics. This fight, some people say, was a bit of a hometown decision. He's a guy with a clean-cut poster boy image, but in the past he's been a little bit naughty. When he was younger, he was actually on remand at one point, and he had to wear a tag too. He's since cleaned up his act and he's become the happy, smiley, TV-friendly guy he is now. He turned pro with huge fanfare, and in only his 16th fight, he captured the IBF title against a scared-looking Charles Martin. His last fight were against a terrified-looking Eric Molina, who he blasted out in 3 rounds, and at the moment he's 18-0 with all his wins coming by KO. To be honest, scared-looking is a common theme with his opponents. The majority of them seem to look beaten before they even step in the ring with him. I mean, for instance, Eric Molina gave a spirited effort against Deontay Wilder for the WBC crown, but against AJ hardly threw a punch. And Gary Cornish was 21-0 when he fought AJ, and he just stood there and got flattened in the first. The exception of this rule is Dylan White, a man who actually beat AJ in the amateurs, but Joshua extracted revenge in the fight for the British and Commonwealth titles. So far, White is the only guy to really hit AJ in the pros. Joshua was rocked, there's no doubt about it, and he took some punishment to the body as well, but he composed himself and came back to secure the stoppage victory. In the amateurs, White dropped him, and Mihan Nisti stopped him on his feet. Nista really took the fight to him, and Joshua just didn't know how to deal with this style, and this is a style that Joshua's not come up against in the pros yet either.
He's not really put a foot wrong in his career so far, and he's won every single fight by knockout. He's big, strong, and he punches very, very hard. And he fights out of a good, solid, orthodox stance, and he's very technically savvy. In fact, the only negatives I can really think of are more answer questions and plot points. Like I say, I've only ever seen him hit once, and he was rattled, but what happens when he gets tagged later in a half hour when he's tired? Stamina-wise, he's not really been tested yet, and he's only gone as far as 7 rounds, and that was in a fight that he was bossy. He has an extremely muscular frame, which is great for firepower, and great for the ladies to look at as well. But it takes a hell of a lot of oxygen to keep that going late in a fight.
Physically, it reminds me of a young Frank Bruno. Someone else had a dynamite punch. Bruno made it to 21-0 all by knockout before running out of steam against Bone Crusher Smith. Bruno's stamina problems became apparent whenever he was extended by an opponent, and although I can't say for sure this is going to happen to Joshua, the similarities between the two are there.
The only way we'll ever get to see this tested is if someone can drag him into deep waters, but right now there's been no one who can stand up to his firepower. And if it carries on this way, his stamina may never get truly tested, so there may never be a reason to worry about it.
Style-wise, I'm going to compare him again to Frank Bruno. Sorry, he can look a little bit robotic and upright at times, but yet again, this has got the job done for him so far in his career. Although I have to say, his level of opposition hasn't exactly been stellar, as he's been matched pretty carefully so far.
So there you have AJ, big, strong, with a dynamite punch, young and hungry, but with an overtly muscular physique, it could quite possibly lead to stamina issues later in the fight. Now that is just speculation, of course. He can be rattled if you hit him clean, but that's only happened once so far in 18 pro fights. Now let's talk about Wladimir Klitschko, or to give him his full name, that. He's an intelligent man, fluent in Ukrainian, Russian, English and German, and he has a PhD in sports science also. He has a record of 64 wins and 4 losses, 53 of those wins coming by the way knockout. He's a former 2-time heavyweight champ. He's held the WBA, the IBF, the IBO, and he's twice held the WBO title. He's made a combined 23 title defences of the heavyweight title, and this upcoming fight will be his 29th world title fight. And he does a cool Borat impression as well.
David Hayes has a brain the size of a squirrel.
He was the Olympic super heavyweight champ back in 1996. He turned pro on the same show as his big brother Vitaly, who himself went on to hold the WBC heavyweight strap twice, as well as the WBO for a short period of time as well. Vitaly seemed the more powerful and sturdy of the two, while Wladimir was a better ring technician. Legend has it that a sparring session between the two ended up in a full-scale war, and that left Wladimir with a broken leg. Wladimir made it to 24-0 before running out of steam against Ross Purity in the 11th round of their fight. He reacted to his first loss by doing what anyone with the big brother would do, and he got his big brother to beat up the guy who beat him up. He won his first world title, funnily enough, by beating the guy who gave his big brother his first defeat, Chris Bird. Against Bird, Vitaly injured his shoulder and tore his rotator cuff, and retired on his stool after 9 rounds. Vlad outpointed Bird and became the WBO title holder for the first time. He then lost it in his 6th defence in a shocking upset against Corey Sanders in a fight where he was floored 4 times. Corey Sanders was a fast-handed South African southpaw, and for most of his career had a tash, a parting, and a beer gut, and he looked like your uncle that would embarrass himself at family gatherings. Interestingly, Sanders lost his next fight, and that was to Vitaly Klitschko! That's right, he got Big Brother to beat him up. Wladimir later went on to fall to pieces in a vacant WBO title challenge against Lamont Brewster, before beating Bird again for the IBF and IBO title, stopping Brewster in a rematch and unifying in a boring points decision with Sultan Ibragimov for the WBO title, and then beating David Haye in his poorly toe for the WBA title. In fact, between 2011 and 2014, the only boxers to hold major heavyweight titles were the Klitschko brothers. Now, coming off a loss, Klitschko has always looked tentative and careful in his next couple of fights and has shown safety first tactics. In fact, in a fight where he's been dropped, he will go into his shell for a while. I wouldn't go as far as say he's got a glass jaw, but 3 of his 4 losses have come by stoppage of a Myrick, and he's been on the 4 round
around a dozen times. He shows a good orthodox style, has a great jab and follows it up with a long right hand or a cracking left hook. He can look a little bit robotic and stiff himself also, and even with all those KO victories, he has been labelled a boring fighter on more than one occasion. This fight is a gigantic step up in class for AJ, and Klitschko is the best fighter AJ has fought by a country mile. However, Joshua is young, fresh, powerful and hungry, and he's never tasted defeat in the pro ranks, so losing just simply won't be on his mind.
Klitschko is now 41 years of age, and his last fight was in November of 2015, which was a defeat against Tyson Fury. In that fight, Fury bossed him around and he really did look his age. In fact, he looked lost and he couldn't really pull the trigger, and when he was behind on points, he couldn't really dig deep and find an answer either. Now, I think a prime Wladimir Klitschko takes this fight against Anthony Joshua hands down, and by the looks of things he's really up for this fight. But the thing is, this ain't a prime Wladimir Klitschko anymore. He has the skill, the pedigree and the technical abilities to box his way to a decision if he can get his jab working. He's too smart to try trading with Joshua, but if he can land that big right, he could get Joshua out there. Joshua has simply never met a pro with Klitschko's skill set. However, if against Fury he couldn't get things going, how's he going to get things going against Anthony Joshua? I know Fury's a completely different fighter to Anthony Joshua, and it must have been really hard getting his mind right for a fight against someone who just really didn't give a flying fuck. I'm talking about a guy who turned up at the press conferences dressed as chuffing Batman. But I think the signs of rot have really started to set in with Klitschko.
I think it could be a case of the body not being able to do what the man wants it to do anymore. Now, if this fight took place before the Fury defeat, and I say it's a comfortable win for Klitschko, I think that defeat has put a little bit of doubt in his mind. He'll be hesitant and a little safety first to begin with, and these are the kind of things that would bode well against a dangerous predator like Joshua.
During his title reign, Klitschko was never one to storm out the blocks and try and smash someone up, and in his 69th fight I can't see this changing now. Joshua is still a relative novice and can only get better, whereas with a defeat this is most probably Klitschko's last ever fight. At this stage in a career, a fighter just doesn't improve. Saying that, if Klitschko does have anything left in the tank and can establish his jab, this could be a long night for AJ. Well, actually a short one if he can get that left hook landing after the jab. And if this fight goes into the later rounds, this really could be trouble for Joshua.
Fights like these are all about time, although I certainly wouldn't want to be putting money on the result, as I could really be underestimating Klitschko here. As a night against Fury could have just been a blip. Fury's just one hell of an customer. But I just think that AJ's team have timed this fight perfectly. I usually don't see guys in the 40s regaining the heavyweight title. I see AJ coming out and doing what AJ does, holding back slowly, trying to box and trying to get the feel of Klitschko in the first couple of rounds. He's not going to be trying to take Vlad out straight away because he's got a little bit too much respect for that.
I see Klitschko trying to ease into the fight and try and old man AJ out of here, get his jab going and try and find a home for his right hand. Joshua's style shouldn't give Klitschko too many problems to begin with, but as the fight progresses I just see Klitschko being second best and not really being able to establish himself. And then I see Joshua getting into a rhythm and beginning to unload, and I see Klitschko getting rescued or pulled out by his corner around about the halfway mark.
Listen, I love a good upset win. but with Joshua's raw power, freshness and hunger compared to Klitschko's inactivity, age and how he looked in his last fight against Fury. These are all contributing factors to my prediction, so let's just hope there's no fight-altering injuries that happen mid-fight that contribute to the outcome. Anyway, thanks for watching and don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. See you later. Also, we're on minds.com now as well, so check us out on there.